Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to my channel. So you've watched one of my videos, or perhaps the more popular Con and or Kerbo, who's actually a friend of mine, and you have bought the game Railroads Online thinking, oh man, that looks easy and it'll be fun, and then you get to here and go, oh my god, I didn't realize that there was nothing available at all when I start. How the heck do I use the track tools and lay track? This looks like a pain in the butt. And when you're not sure what you're doing, it is. But for the most part, once you figure out how to use the track tools, it's not quite as bad. It's actually pretty easy. So let's get started. You begin track laying by going into the G menu. So you press your G key. That'll bring up your construction menu. And it's also the place where you buy locomotives. And you're going to grab our track construction button. And here you're presented with many different tools. Now, we could go with the latest and greatest stub three-way switch. Actually, it might be kind of fun to put that in. It'll be a little bit difficult to do it backwards, but yeah, I think we're going to do that. And you'll notice here they have, what's called the harp. This is a harp. With the other switches, we have harp. Basically, this one on the three-way switch, they have harp left and harp right. On the rest of the switches, you actually pick from the picture harp left and harp right. Here you can see harp is on the right. Here the harp is on the left, and the track diverges left and straight and left. But this time the harp's on the right. Same over here. You have the track diverging to the right and a straight, and the harp's on the left. And the harp's on the right. Now, you also have the option to pick it with or without ballast. In general, you want to use with ballast. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to lay some straight track to push this yard out a little further. And we're going to grab this. Now, the difference between 1, 2, and 3 is how deep this roadbed runs. I'd say in general, I usually just use 2 unless I have to use 3. I almost never use 1. Now, you can use run. Here we're on flat ground, so 1 is fine. You can see there, that shows you it's got a little bit of a hill underneath it. When we click it down, though, to the track, and it showed, if you saw that, I'm going to undo that. So if you can see here, when I pick it, it shows a little link. That means I can link up to this piece that I'm standing on. And I go ahead and click the mouse button, and it links. And now I'm in the track building tool. Now, the construction menu up to the right. This is very important. You will notice that a majority of the keys that are in this menu are, what is it talking about? They're on your numlock keypad, which is over on the right side of your keyboard. If you have a compact keyboard or one of those keyboard mouse combos, you might be out of luck, because sometimes those do not have a numpad, but most of your building tools are numpad. So we're looking here. Right now, we are not in circle mode, so the track is going to kind of weave back and forth as we move around. I don't really want that. I want nice, straight track. I don't want weavy track. So I'm going to put it in circle mode. So in order to do that, I have to press num 5. You can see there's this toggle circle mode. I'm going to press, my num lock's off. I'm going to press num 5. Now you can see the track went nice and straight. See how it straightened up what I did? And when I take the track out, it doesn't veer left and it doesn't veer right. Even if I turn myself around, it makes a nice straight piece of track. And that is what I want to do. So we're going to make a nice piece of track here. And we're going to lay it. And then I'm just going to cut this. We're going to cut this tree down to make some room for our switch. And this is where we're going to get to important trick number 1. Okay? Because you're going, well, how the heck are you going to get that switch here? So if I go and I do the natural way of laying it, I'm going to pick it. Let's say the harp doesn't really matter right now. I'm just going to let it be on the right side with ballast. And you're going to say, well, that's going the wrong way. What you want to do is you want to press number 2 or 8 on the numpad for a different link point. See, now it's picking the other side of the track. It's picking the left diverge, and it doesn't let you do the right diverge for some reason. That's the first time I've noticed that. But at least you can do those too. Does it do right diverge? No. Interesting. So right now it's going to make it out, but this way, if I pick this one, it's going to flip it around when I click it. So watch. I've got the link. See that link? I'm going to click the mouse button. Boom. And it reverses it. You see that? That's what we wanted it to do, right? You're like, that's how you do that. So you're going to select link point to get that done. Now, the rest is super easy. We're going to press G. We're going to pick our track. We're going to pick this number 1. And I'm going to go over here and link it. And I'm going to go over here and link this. And, oh, you'll notice I'm still in circle mode and it's not letting me do it. So I need to press the numlock 5. And now I can just free rotate this. And I'm just going to walk here. Oh, look, and it does it for us. There you go. Same thing on this side. I'm going to go back to our menu. And I'm going to pick this track and link it. And then walk over here. Grab this, link it. And that's it. Our yard is done. It was that simple. So that is basic track laying. Let's go ahead and do a little bit more because I know you probably have a lot more questions. What on earth? But see how easy that was? It really was not that difficult to get this whole thing put in. And now we have our switch. And if we stand over here, we can drag the mouse button. It goes to the right. It goes to the middle. And it goes to the left. And that's... Which the harp is messed up on this one. It's actually how it works, but I'm not sure how they do it in real life to make it so that the harp, when it's pointing... Usually this indicates which way you're going to head. But in this case, it's the opposite because the train's going to go this way. Now the train's going to go in the center. And now the train's going to go, well, that way. But it's showing this way. Weird. Whatever. The one thing that you have to be careful with these reverse diverging switches, with the triple switch, in other words, they do not auto switch when you come through them going the other way. If I use one of the regular switches, like if we had built this with two or three of the regular switches, I'll explain this. I'm going to show you. We're going to put a piece of track down so you can see what I'm talking about. Nope, regular switch, please. One of these. Doesn't matter which one because we're going to get rid of it. And I'm going to link it to its regular point. If I switch it this way and I travel here, you can see the points are set. The train's going to turn to the right. If I switch it this way, now the train's going to go straight. Now, if I have a train coming from this direction, what's going to happen? It's going to go straight, right? Now, when the game first came out, this would happen. If you came this way and the switch was set that way, you would derail. But what it does now is, just like a real one, the engine actually pushes the switch open and you can continue on. You don't have to do anything. You just leave it like that. Even if you're coming from this side, it'll push it open. As long as you're heading from here to there, that'll push the switch open. However, on this triple switch, that does not work. You will end up in the dirt. So make sure you pay attention to that. All right, so continuing along. Let's talk about getting our track out and around here. And what we need to do is let's take a look at the map. We have our freight depot. That's where we are now. And we need to get our little engine and the car to the sawmill, and we need to create a line from the sawmill to the logging camp. Now, I may do some of this with you. A lot of the fun is figuring it out yourself. But this topographical map, or relief map, has some interesting information. And if you look closely enough, even here and here, you can see the shadows and rise of hills. So these are actually on the map. There's a hill here on the map. If I go straight to the sawmill, I have the likelihood of running into this hill. There's going to be... So you kind of want to follow a route that's going to maybe take you a little bit closer to this side and then come back this way. And look, there's a hill right here between you and the sawmill. You want to follow this. So this is actually a pretty accurate map. Even though things are real small, when you get to these areas, you want to kind of follow what's the flattest part of the route. And this whole area from here to here, if you stay away from these depressions and these hills, it's completely flat. You don't have to do any grading or anything like that. You just have to get the track to follow this path. So our goal right now is to get over to that mountain and not hit it, but to get close to it and kind of follow it along. The other thing we have going on is that we need to get the freight depot tied in also so that we can sell things to the freight depot. So let's go ahead and run some track, and I'll run that with you here. We're going to click here, and I'm going to, right now my circle mode's not on, and I want to turn that back on, so we're going to press 5. Now, we're going to run this track straight along here. You can see we're up on a little bit of a ridge. We're in the grass. It's okay to be like that. It's a little hard to see with the flowers. If you wanted to get above the grass, you could raise the grade a little bit. But here, we're starting to get above the floor a little bit anyway. Okay. So we're going to go to about, I'm watching the freight depot. Got a nice straight track to about here. Okay. And then we just go back and get rid of these trees. I usually try to make my right-of-way pretty wide. You don't have to, but for a visitability or from a visibility standpoint, when you start getting some of the bigger engines and you have trees really close up to the tracks, it makes it difficult to see the engine moving and kind of get an idea where you're headed. So I like to clear out visually some of these trees so that we can have a better line of sight when we're driving our engines. They don't have to come down necessarily, but it is nice to be able to see what's around you. I'm just clearing this out. We definitely need to clear most of these trees out that are going by the freight depot, so let's go ahead and get rid of all of these. And so I'm going to go ahead and clear these. I will be right back. Oh, and a little pointer, by the way. Things are experience locked in this game. You get a little bit of experience for every tree you cut down. So an easy way to get some early on in-game levels is to do a lot of tree cutting. So if you want to cut your whole route out before you lay the track and see how it looks, that's one way to do it. And then another way is just to run the track and then go back and cut like I've been doing. But you will earn experience from cutting each tree that you cut. So that's a little helpful tip right there. Now we're going to do something unique here, a little bit different. I'm going to want to set a switch to our freight depot, and I'm going to show you how to lay this track. And one of the frustrating things that I found about this game is what we're going to get into here. They did not put the buildings with the grid that you have for track laying, so your track will never run perfectly straight along a building. Anyway, the buildings that are already on the map, I should say. It is a very annoying thing that they did. I wish they would fix that, but we cannot perfectly lay buildings. You'll see what I'm talking about here in a minute when I get closer to doing what I'm going to do. All right, so here we got a nice swath wide open here. We can see our freight depot, and I'm going to walk over here. This is going to be interesting, but we're going to put a switch down, and maybe that's not interesting. I think it's interesting, but maybe you don't care. And I'm going to pick this switch with the right diverging, and I've got the harp to the left, and we're picking the one with the ballast. And I am going to rotate this. So in order to do that, we're going to take this. You can see over on the grid and the alignment up at the top on the right-hand corner. To rotate the construction point, I have to press num 4 and or 6. And it's rotating in 10 degrees at a time. So that's a rough rotate. If I want to make it a little bit more, and it looks like to me, I feel like I want it to be here by looking back. I hit a tree. So we need to clear out more trees. Hold on. All right, I have more trees to clear, but we're going to get started here. We're going to go ahead and do our harp. Did I say right? Yeah, I think I said right. And once again, the track is fairly aligned up the way that I want it. Actually, that's pretty perfect right there. So I'm looking at the other track that I've laid, and I'm looking at this track. There'll be a bit of a curve on both, but that's okay. And I'm going to go ahead and set this piece of track down. And then I'm going to go out and pick our 3-foot rail. Pick this. We are not in circle mode, that's how we use connecting rails like this. And another little trick, don't run your rails too long, because if you have to delete them, then you lose they have to rerun all that stuff that you deleted. Now, that's an interesting thing. It whipped it out and back. That's okay. I don't mind that too much. It seems like it should have been able to just take it straight and connect it, but it decided to whip it to the left first. I'm not happy with that. Let's just... Okay, so let's try to do this ourselves. If we're not happy, we can take a piece of track, and I can put this in there, and I'm going to put the circle mode on, and I'm going to run this here a lot closer, but we're doing a nice straight piece right to about there. That's good. Even there. And now I'm going to turn circle mode off, and I'm just going to let this little piece connect right here. Boop. And look how well that worked. Try it from the other side. Sometimes that happens. You cannot be serious. That's how it's going to do it. Wow. Okay, well, let's run this back. I guess I need to make it a little bit shorter. That's gorgeous. We can also try to make it a turn that'll connect. I don't think we'll get it perfectly, but we need to turn circle mode off, and we're going to run this over. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, that looks good. Right about there. Now let's see what it does. Select this, circle mode off. It's doing it again. So the problem is the angle is off a little bit. This track needs to be aimed a little bit more towards that. So we can fix that. Let's get this right. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. And I'm going to get rid of this. And I'm going to get rid of part of this. You'll see this is going to go back. This is what I'm talking about. See, we laid all that track, but now I'm going to have to get rid of it. So we're basically going to start it turning it naturally ourselves. And while I'm doing this, we're going to cut some of these trees down because we need to have this area cleared for the track. So once again, don't feel bad about having to tear track. If you want it to be right, there's nothing wrong with tearing up what you've done. And I want you to just see that. Like what we're doing right now, it's like, oh, man, I can't believe I got to relay that. Well, big deal. It's super easy to lay. Right now, it's not expensive. It doesn't cost us anything in game to do this. So let's get it right. So we're going to run past here. We see up ahead kind of what the goal is. So I'm going to run it to right about there. Now that we didn't run it as far, let's go ahead and, just for poops and giggles, let's go ahead and walk it over there. Turn the circle mode off. And let's see, if we give it more space to make the curve, I'm hoping that this curve is just a nice, slow, sloping left turn. Or right turn if you're coming the other way. And sure enough, there you go. Much better. So see, it was definitely worth rerunning it. And we had to go back and recut some track, but what a nice looking track now. That's much smoother. It doesn't have that stupid whip curl in it. Now we may get some of that here going the other way, but for this depot, you can enter the depot on either side. So what I would suggest doing is we're going to take a little piece of track here, and I want this piece to be nice and straight, so we're going to put a 0 circle on it. We're going to take it to about here, and then I'm going to add a second switch. And we're going to do, once again, harp right, connected right there. Okay, because I'm not real happy with the way that came out, so I'm going to rethink this. We're going to put a curve in. Ooh, get fancy. So now I'm going to keep it in circle mode, and I'm going to press the 6 or 4 key to adjust the radius. And you can see there it's weird. It doesn't really make a lot of radiusing until you get to down in the low, 10s, all right? Really try to keep 90, 80. 30 is where it's really hard for engines. They will derail at speed. Cars will also derail if you go 30, 40 even. So it's best to keep the radius above 70 if you can. But you can use it if you need it. But right now we don't need that severe. So we're going to do about a 120. And that will kind of There we go. Now we're aimed towards the platform with our switch. So we got a nice smooth curve. And we're going to go ahead and put our switch down. Once again, harp right. And I'm putting a switch to the right. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and cut this out. Now, what I would suggest for this, to make things a little bit easier, there's a couple sort of tricks to get this laid properly. It's a little bit weird. But there's all kinds of different ways you can do this. Once again, the big problem here is that even if I put a track down, in this case, I'd rather use just 3 foot. There we go. We want it to be about yay far from the platform. Here's the issue that we're going to run into. Okay, first of all, we need to get any curve out, so we're going to take this all the way back till it's like 1,000 and then 0. So watch, I'm saying 800, 900, 1,000, 0. Now, so there's no curve in this whatsoever. And you can just run it along here, but you can see as we go, we're getting further and further away from the platform. Unfortunately, there's really nothing you can do about that. And once again, that is a problem with the layout of the map. These platforms are not on the grid. Now, one trick I can show you, let's say we want to rotate this a little bit, okay? So I'm going to get rid of that piece, and I'm going to grab a piece again, and this time we're going to pick one of these. And I want it to go, like if I put these along here and I can kind of see where it's going through the leg, I can adjust that by rotating it this way or that way. I'm pressing 6 and 4 on the numpad to make it do this. But you can see, wow, those are big jumps. I want to change that to smaller jumps. You can. What you have to do is you have to press the star or asterisk key. You can see it where at the very top of the menu where you start seeing num. It says num star equals edit construction grid. That's what we need to do. So we're going to hit that. Now it says 100. That's going to be big steps. And then 1. Look at that. And now I can do 1 degree at a time. This seems to follow the platform a little bit better, but it's still going to be the opposite problem. So if I bring, let's say, the track out here, and I want to start it right about there. And notice my radius is 0, my incline is 0, and my grid is 1. I'm hitting at 270. And we want to give a little space for the cars so that they don't hit the platform. That should be, And you can see right here, if I'm at 270, as we get along the platform, they've gotten close, but that should be good. I want to bring the track a little further away, though. That seems to me like a little too close for comfort. So we're going to not lay that. And we're going to come back here. Some guys use these bridge pieces to kind of get an idea. They put it at that. You can see the. You don't have to lay the piece, but you can just so you can see what it looks like. You can see here if we put this is kind of the distance that we want. And you can see on these track pieces, there's those boards with the screws in them to the right. I wish I could point with the mouse, but I can't. I guess we can lay it, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. This right here, see that board? And there's one right here. You can use those as a gauge of how close to put this. And that's about right. So let's go ahead and demolish this. And so we're going to put this back down again. So once again, we want the track to be about here. But I'll show you with that bridge piece again. We're not going to lay it. We're just going to look. And I can see here that the board, that's about right. If I put the board, see down there that leg that I'm touching with the board and the screw, I know that that's about the distance that I want. So if I just leave that and I press G again and I just stand right here and don't move and go back in and pick my rail. Whoops, I moved a little bit. That's about right distance right there. So we're going to go ahead and hit that. So that's a little tricky. The platforms are not easy. Once again, we've come too close. And the sad part is there's really nothing we can do about it. We have to maybe move out even a little further. So, unfortunately, the other thing we could do is we could put a slight bend in it. So now I've radius of 1,000. You can see, so it gets but see how far away it is here even? So that doesn't really do us much good. You can see right there the difference. That's the 1,000, and that's with no radius, but it's curving there. So that's one trick. Another way we could do this, and once again, this is maybe a little bit cheaty. We could use our bridge pieces at each end. And let's put this down and do that right about there. And make sure that I'm looking up at my numbers, I want zeros on the radius. So we got 0 radius, 0 incline. This track's a little bit high, but that's about where we are. And I put my pieces of wood on the posts. See that? If you look close here, I've got a piece of wood on the post. And at the top there, I've got the piece with the screw in it on the post. They're both touching. And I do this and run it back so that it's touching. And then I can go down to the other end and do the same thing. And same exact thing. I'll put that piece touching right there. And that piece is going to touch right there. Once again, I'm looking at that piece with the screw in it. Okay. And now, this is weird, but I'm going to do this. We could take a piece of track and run it from here. Run it along here. And I'm going to take it off of circle mode. And I'm just going to snap it in here. Snap. There we go. Snappy snap. Okay. And then, watch this now. Here's where it gets even better. I can then run this piece back. Oops, I screwed up. Let's just pick 2, and we're going to let it pick right there. And we're going to take it back to our switch. And once again, I'm not in circle mode. I'm just going to let the computer decide what it wants to do, and it should do a fine job. And I snap that there. Snappy. Good. And you can see here, it made a nice, pretty straight line back. We've got a nice curve going to the station. I still feel like it's a little close, but we should be fine. And then the tracks run. You can see they're not perfectly straight, but they follow the platform without hitting the platform. Then we can get rid of this section and put just the regular rails in. There we go. It's a little bit elevated, but that's all right. And the train won't hit or strike the platform anywhere here, which is good. We got the ties. And then so that's the other way to deal with this. And then we get rid of this and add in whatever we want to add in. If you want to be realistic about this, most of these, facilities would have a roundhouse usually if this was the end of the line, or some sort of turntable for the engine. So I would say, I'm going to show you what I would do here. I'm going to take a piece out here, and I want to put a nice straight piece in, and we're going to just run this back, and we're going to make something cool. So we're going to put that about here, and we'll come back to this. You're going to see what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring both pieces together, and we're going to have a little turnaround here for the engines. Cut all these down. All right. And I'll come back and do more, but for now, that's good. Let's go ahead and get rid of this piece. And I'm going to go ahead and add this in. Once again, not perfectly straight, but it will do. And for some reason, that's not turn circle mode off. Here we go. And so there. So now we have that line run. I'm going to do the other side, and I'll be right back. Now, once again, another tip. I'm leaving this piece in. The reason why I don't delete this and go over there with the other track is because if I run it from here, it's going to curve through the decking. So the reason why I leave that piece in there and then come back and delete it is so that it doesn't hit the deck. So I'm going to go ahead and snap that here. We're getting really close to being done with this side. I'm going to turn circle mode off, and we're going to walk it back to this switch. There you go. So once again, in this tutorial, we've dealt with flat track mostly. I'm going to show you how to make an incline towards the end of this video, but it's the same thing. Just be aware when you make inclines, unless you have ground underneath, you can't really lay any switches. So once you get into inclines, you're looking at getting over or around terrain. And there's a couple things to remember. First of all, trains don't really like steep grades. So there's a couple numbers I want you to remember. 2.5 and 3 are really the maximum grades that you want to be using when laying track. That's going to mess up. Do you see this? The problem is that I didn't run those other pieces long enough. So now we got a bit of an issue with this. So what I'm going to have to do is we're going to have to get rid of that. Whenever you see those spikes going across, see how this goes across like that, that silver part? That's going to derail your train. So I have to relay this. I didn't do that quite right. I wanted to make those a little bit longer on this side, and I didn't. Give yourself at least 2 post length. When I say post, I'm talking about these posts. Make it at least this long. 1, 2. I didn't do that, and that was my mistake. So I'm going to put this piece in, turn circle mode on, make sure the piece is straight. There's 0 radius, and I'm going to run it right to here. There we go. And that'll fix the problem. And then now I can snap this back. So, but anyway, for your incline, you don't want to really have more than a 3% grade. For example, at 3%, Betsy can probably pull 2 loaded cars. That's our little steam locomotive that we start with. At 3%, the largest engine could pull 16 loaded cars, which is good. That's why you want to stay at that level, though, because if you go beyond that, then you have to start cutting back on cars. So you're always better taking a longer time, making a much longer grade, but keeping it a reasonable grade than doing these really like steep grades and, trying to get up a hill real quick, because that makes it very difficult. Now, we do have a couple different kinds of engines, and I'll go into that in another video. But there are a few engines that they've given us that are designed to do those crazy hills. But even then, they get stuck too. So unless you have people playing with you and you guys can run multiple engines, it's a good idea to really limit your grades to 3 or less. Honestly, 2.5 is probably where it's happiest. We're going to go into about here. And okay, so once again, we're going to use our switch to run back to that track. And you're going to laugh, but I'm going to do this little reversal thing that I always do. I'm going to grab the switch. Let me think about this. I'm going to want it going to the left. And it doesn't matter which side the harp is on. But I'm going to pick this exit here. There we go. And that runs that track back towards that platform, which is what I wanted. And we're going to run the track. So this is what a real railroad probably would do to save trackage. Now, if you want to make your life easier, you could make a big loop here. Instead of doing what I'm doing, you could just run, turn to the right, go out here, make a big loop around, and then come back this way, heading the other way. And then your engine would be turned around, headed the right way, and you just make a big loop. So that's another way to do this. And some railroads do that, but most railroads don't. It's really weird. They try to save as much track as possible, and obviously not having to cut up the land and stuff, because that all costs money. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to put in another little section of straight track here to let everything settle. And I'm going to go circle mode on so that it forces it. There we go. And now I'm going to put in a switch to the right. Harp on the left is fine. And I'm going to go the normal exit, that exit right here. And connect it. Ta-da. And as you can see here, we're going to have to make some more clearing. Circle mode still on, 0 radius. We're going to run right back here. Make a nice... let's just go 50 meters to be safe. 50. Ta-da. And I'm gonna clear this. I'm gonna cut the trees. I'll be back. Now, here's a little secret about the map, though. Even though we're making a turnaround here, If you turn to the right and go that way, that actually goes out to, if we look on the map, our oil field. You see I'm pointing right at the oil field looking that direction. And then the ironworks and the refinery are all in this valley. So you don't necessarily have to make a turnaround here. You could just get rid of all this and make a curve and head that way towards the industry. It's not the only way to get in. You can also, we've got hills over here, but if you go on the other side of these hills, which would be over this way, you can actually go out to that valley from there too. So maybe you want to have both. You have a track going this way and a track going that way. But I'm just showing you how to make a turnaround just because I want you to learn how to lay the track. So that's the big thing on this. So now I'm going to come over on this side and we're going to put a switch going the other way. And in this case, I am going to pay attention since we put the harp out on that side. We're going to put the harp out on that side again. So I'm going to see if my brain can figure this out. I need a switch left with the harp on the left. And I'm going to do this exit. Voila! I did it. And what we're going to do here is make a passing track. Now, why did I do this? Well, when you come into the freight depot, and I'm going to turn circle mode off because we're just going to let these connect up naturally. Actually, this isn't going to... Okay, watch what happens when I do this. This isn't going to work. It's going to be terrible. It makes a bow. That's not what we want. So what we're going to do is this. We're going to demolish this. And then I'm going to get a second piece of track, and we're going to run a nice... just in a segment here, just like this. We're going to keep it following the same track. We're going to put it in circle mode and no radius. And I'm just going to pop this. Yeah, let's make this about here to make it. Nope, I didn't do it right. I needed to extend it a little bit so it would stay. Just like that. Now I'm going to go ahead and connect this back, and you'll see this will make it nice. Circle mode off. This should... oh, yeah, perfect. And now we have a nice siding there. It's short. It can only fit like... what I would do is I would make the cars... here, I'll show you. So when you come out of the freight depot, no matter which side you come from, you're going to run into here. And when the engine gets to the end, you can fit probably 4 or 5, maybe even 6 cars in here. You're going to stop right about here and cut those cars off. So the last car is right here, like by where that is, like where the curve starts. So cut the last car here, and then you're going to pull the engine forward, and we're going to put a turntable right here. And you're going to put the engine on the turntable. You're going to turn it around. And then the engine can pass the train over here on this track. And then you're going to back up and hook up to your cars and go off that way. And that gives you a little bit of a play scenario, I guess. So you can play trains. But that's how they would do. And honestly, in real life, that is most likely how they would handle this situation. This is kind of the end of the line. So I'll put a nice turntable in. We're going to hook that right up there. And then we're going to do another. I'm just going to put a dead end track here. There we go. Yeah, so the engine can come here, get turned around, and head back the other way. Or you could just back the train, however you want to do it. But that, I just want to show you, that's how you, kind of an idea of how you build yards too. Though you can take switches, and we'll get into that maybe in a more advanced track laying class. So last but not least, I want to show you how to do inclines. But you can see here, we've done this video is what, about a half an hour, 40 minutes, and we've already gotten a nice yard with a 3-way track switch. We've gotten the whole freight area in. I've got a turnaround for the engines, and we've done this all pretty quickly, and it hasn't been very difficult, has it? You haven't heard me swearing or cursing or anything. It's been a pretty easygoing experience. Now, it's because I'm experienced with it, but you will be too once you start doing it. It's not that difficult. Okay, before we get to inclines, I wanted to show you one more trick. We have in the facilities a building called the telegraph office, all right? And we can place a telegraph office anywhere you want on the map. These are nice because they're actually teleportation locations. So if you're working on the track here and you know you're going to be working on a section down there or let's say a freight depot. I'm going to show you. Right now, if I want to go back to the yard, I got to walk all the way back. But if I put a teleportation station in there, we can teleport from one, it's not a teleportation station, one telegraph station to another. And then we don't have to do this long, tedious walk. Once the track's laid, I can get rid of any of the telegraph stations that I'm not using as actual jump points. But I could put one, usually what I do is I put one at the freight depot, one at the sawmill, one at the logging camp, one at each of these major locations. And then if I have a yard, like a train yard somewhere, I'll put one at the end of the yard so that I can, jump there where my trains are parked. So we'll just put one randomly right here. But I forgot, this is an important tip. That will allow you, as you range out into the map, to be able to get back and forth quickly. And then once again, you can get rid of any ones that you don't want, but all we have to do is look on our map now, and I'm at this one. I'm just going to jump over here, and voila, I am now at the other end of the track. So let's go ahead and start building our, to demolish it, you have to pick all or buildings. There we go. I don't want to hear the beeping the whole time I'm working. We're going to go ahead and build our first grade, and that'll take you through the first grade of train building. So let's go ahead and grab this, and I'm going to we're going to put a nice straight piece, and I'm going to curve this. Now, once again, I've got my track set to grid 1. It's going to take me forever to get a curve into this track, so I need to go back and press my asterisk button or my star button and get that back to 10. Now I'm jumping in 10s. But if I want to be real precise, I can do 1. Now, once again, I don't want that. I want to do like a 90 would be a good turn. And we're going to bring it right to about here where you can see the track's getting really high off the ground. And I also want to start raising the track up to make a bridge. So we'll start a bridge here. I need to get rid of these logs. So hold on. Okay, so we're going to begin our grade. Now, we have several different types of bridges to pick from. And just so you know, even your regular 3-foot rail pieces can have inclines. So if you want to start an incline using a dirt ramp and just run it as high as the dirt ramp will go, then more power to you. Be aware, when the track reaches the top of the highest height that type of device can do, let's say the highest grade that you can, or the highest height that you can build above the ground with ballast is 50 feet. Once you reach that 50 feet above the ground, it will no longer be able to build track. So let's say you go a really long way, and I'm gonna demonstrate. All right, so I'm gonna pick that. We're gonna pick this, and I'm gonna go ahead and continue our 90-degree turn. And I'm going to put a 3% grade in by pressing 8 or 2. You can see it goes by 0.5. So you got a half a grade, 1% grade, 1.5, 2%, 2.5, and 3% for the max grade. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and walk this out. And it's going to get higher and higher. And as long as the ground stays within 50 feet of it, I'm not sure what the actual height is, but as long as the ground stays at a certain height, and I want to actually stop the curve, so we're going to build that there. And then I'm going to go ahead and put this here. And we're going to straighten this out. So going back to 0 on our radius. And we're going to continue to build the hill. Oops, wrong. Stop. There we go. Now, I don't know if it'll show us when we reach the absolute maximum height. I think you'll actually see it start coming up off the ground. And when that happens, it will no longer allow us to build the track. See this? Okay, there it is. So we've reached the maximum height, which is what? Probably about 30 feet there, 25 feet, that this can do. And if I try to build it, it won't build. So if you guys run into a situation where you're trying to lay track and it's like, dang it, for what? It's not building. What that means is that you've actually gone higher than the type of track that you've selected can go. So you have to pick a different type, which would either be a bridge type or like a steel girder, stone wall, Now, see, I should, because this is on the ground now, I should be able to build it. Let's see what happens. How far back do I have to take this before I'm going to... There we go. So right there is as high as I can build this. Right. So there we go. And that's it. So now we have to switch to a different type of construction, which would be bridge or... let's take a look. We've got 3 different types of bridges and a wall. The walls... I don't love, but we can use the walls for some neat things. And I'll show you at the very end of the video, I'll jump in and I'll show you something that we've done using a combination of some of these pieces to build parts into our layout that required more ground up. And that'll come in. I'll show you how to do it in an advanced video because that's pretty advanced track laying. But so we have 3 different bridge types. The first being Bridges 2, which is ironic because Bridges 1 actually builds a taller bridge. Bridges 2 has a maximum height. You can see even from the picture, you can tell that Bridges 1 is taller. And then you have steel, which is the tallest of all of the bridges. So let's go ahead and lay this down. And I'm not worrying about trees right now or anything like that, but I'm just going to put this as much as I can. We're going to get this up. And you can see here, it takes quite a while to get up a 3% grade, doesn't it? But this should still be layable. There we go. So, oops, I picked the wrong bridge type. Okay, well, whatever. That is the second or the first bridge type. And let's go and pick the second bridge type, which is going to be our Denver and Rio Grande style Bridge 2. And you can do it from the ground. If you can find the icon, see that? Boom. And I can continue this bridge. I don't have to. This might be too tall for this, though, so let's see if it'll lay it. No, it did it. Okay. You can see this is the second type. It's got that walkway on the side, and it's got bigger posts. These are round posts, whereas the older style, I guess older, does not have that railing system along it, and they're boards rather than posts. Okay. But you can see here look how high it's gotten up already. Unfortunately, I'm on the ground, so that means I'm going to have to go all the way back to the beginning to climb. That's where your teleportation office is handy, because if I would have left it, I could have just teleported back there and just walked up the track then from there. You can also place teleportation stations on the track. So if you get a situation where you want to just lay one up there and then walk up to it and then teleport to it when you're building, you can do that too. All these tricks for building. Let's put a steel girder down last. You can curve with the steel girders. Yeah, I can't get it. I'm going to have to walk around. Dang it. So I'll be back. Now, it looked like there's a bug. Okay, so it switched track types by itself. I didn't do that. You can see here at the beginning, whoops, I laid the right kind of track. That's what I wanted. And then maybe I did that, but I feel like I didn't. It switched over to the other type. Now, one thing you need to know, there's a little hint here. When you're building with the old style trestle, not this one with the walkway. Oh no, this is all right. Oh, okay, weird. When you're building with this old style trestle, or with this style trestle, there's no issues because you can get in and under the rails. So if I go or underneath, if I need to clear these trees out, I can just walk into here, and for the most part, I can reach in and cut the trees, can't I? Oh no, you can't. See, okay. So that's where you got to be careful because that's an issue. I can't cut these trees down and they're going through the tracks. So I have to cut them from the top, and sometimes it won't let you do that. So that's true for both of these trestle types. If you have the steel bridges, you can always cut the trees down. They should disappear in a sec. There's one disappearing. So one thing to think about when you're using this trestle type is that you probably should clear the trees out ahead of time. You might even want to lay your track on the ground first and then follow that with the trestle. But just be aware that once it's laid, you are either going to have to delete it to get rid of the trees or try to cut it from the top. But when the trees get really short at the top, like let's say that you're 150 feet up and you're just getting the little tip of the tree, you're not going to be able to cut those down. And then the train's going to derail when it hits them. So if the tree's here in this area where you can walk through, it's fine. But if the tree's in that box, you can't get to it. And that, I'm pretty sure they were going to fix that, but it's still not fixed, obviously, with this version. We are the version right before the weather, so if you got weather, that might have changed, but this is the pre-weather version of the game. And I know that's right around the corner, but I don't know if they fixed that or not, but I don't think they did. But here, so this is not so bad because these trees are all tall enough that I can tickle them with the saw. But with this type of bridge, and I believe with the other type, you have to be careful because you will end up getting into a situation where they are just sticking up a little bit through the, like almost like this. I don't know if I'll be able to cut those trees down, and that's going to be a problem. So you may want to clear the road ahead and then build the trestle. Yeah. So just be careful. You see how high up we are already, though. We've already climbed above the floor of the forest. All right. So let's go ahead and put the second type in, this bridge. And we're going to continue on. And I'm just going to take it a little further out. And cut it. And once again, we still got a nice 3% grade going. And you can curve these. You can just like the regular pieces. You see how it curves? I can get that in there and get it to be a nice curve radius. So if you want to follow along a mountainside or whatever, you can do that. But I want to go nice and straight. And I do... Let's try this piece. I'm going to take it out there. We're almost to the tippy tops of the trees. And I want to see if that's going to be an issue. Can we cut these from down here? I don't think we can, but let's try. Nope. Yeah, that's going to be a real problem. So what I'm going to have to do is you're going to have to demolish this, and then you're going to have to cut the trees down by hand. So just know that that's going to be an issue for your nice trail. Another tip, it might be all about the looks. You might want to do a steel trestle first, get all the trees cut away, and if you want that wooden bridge look, come back and get rid of the steel trestle and put a wooden trestle in where that was. A lot of times as I'm building my railroads, I do actually think about the look of the area. The steel bridges are boring. They're cool, but they're not as appealing looking as the wooden trestles. The wooden trestles are impressive looking. So it really is something where if you really wanted to clear it out right, but you wanted to do the route the way you'd like to see if it works, build it with steel first, get all the trees cleared, and then come back and rebuild it with wood. That is one of my suggestions. So there you go. So I'll show you the steel bridge last, and then we'll go and I'll show you some of the cool bridges that we've built. And we'll call it a tutorial. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it helpful as you're first getting into the game and building your railways. Build them how you see them. Don't be afraid to get rid of sections and redo them, or build new sections. Like if you have, if you want to have, if you're not happy with the way something's working out, there's nothing wrong with tearing it out and starting over again. Or maybe finding a new route. Like you put it in one route and then you realize, oh, this is a really long route, or maybe there's an issue or too steep of a curve. Try to find ways around it. That's part of the fun of the game is really engineering your own route. And a lot of people like to come in and just run the trains, but there is something enjoyable about building the route and kind of slowly including the industries. Look how far up we've already come. Now, I think we are maybe way past, we're heading towards the logging camp. The sawmill where we really need to get is over there, but that's okay. That's all I wanted to show you was just this happening. And you can see from here, these trees underneath the trestle, you can actually get in here and cut these down. So with our steel trestle, you have the ability to clear trees after you've laid the track. That's why I was suggesting you put those first. And the steel trestle, I want to say it's probably double the height of the wooden trestles. So you can really do some nice, tall bridge work. But if you find that it won't lay down, well, that's another problem, and that comes for another episode. But I'm going to give you some ideas here in just a second. But if you find that it won't lay down and you're too high, then sometimes you're going to have to think some other ways, either change the route or do some tricks to get it to work. And I'm going to show you a couple tricks that we did to make those kind of things work. So I'll be right back. Here's one of the things I wanted to show you. Here's an example of a bridge that was too tall. This trestle is higher than the base ground. So what we've done is put ground underneath it using stone walls, and it is tall enough. Now, this is kind of a cheat. What we actually did here was we laid down a bunch of strips of embankment 3. Okay? See how high that is? And I ran these across the valley, a whole bunch of them, and then ran the trestle and then deleted all of these bunks, all of those embankments, and then I was left with a floating trestle, which works, but it looks ugly. So then I went back with the stone and laid this down underneath it, so it was high enough that it grabbed the trestle and hid the floating bottoms of these legs. And so you can see here now it looks like we have a nice bridge over with a stone foundation and a steel trestle on top. That's one way to do it. Here's another example. Now, to be frank with you, I don't remember how I did this. I think it was the same thing, though. I think I laid a bunch of dirt and then more dirt on top and then more dirt on top. I kept just layering it. I ran the bridge on top, and then I went back and replaced all of those dirt pieces with stone. And then I didn't want the river to get blocked. I originally had this stone going all the way down to the river, and that looked ugly. So I got rid of that, and I put this trestle down there so that the water could flow underneath it, and then the stone above it, and then our trestle. So that's kind of a neat bridge abutment there with the river flowing underneath it. Here you can see Javius and Company decided to recreate Hoover Dam. Man, look at that. I was not in on this. It looks great. It does look great. Now, what he did to get the trestle up there, he built these trestles. He built a trestle here, and then another one on top of that, and then another one on top of that, and then this one up here. And then he ripped out all the bottom trestles and re-added the stone wall and obviously a couple dirt abutments right there for looks. Crazy. And so in closing, my advice is this. Don't let your brain keep you from thinking that it's too hard. Don't let yourself get discouraged. It's actually really easy to do this. Like, this yard took me maybe all of 2 hours, and then this back section took maybe another hour. But this was not hard to build. It's a little bit of a mess. Maybe I should have thought it out a little better, but it works really well for our railroad, and yeah, Javius made the we call it the Jesus turnaround because it looks like a Jesus fish. It's maybe a little sacrilegious, but there you have it. He's got a turnaround where you back the engine. The engine goes in forward this way. When it's heading that way, it goes in heading that way, and when it comes back out again, it's now heading the other way. So it's a really cool way to turn engines around without using much space. That's the Jesus fish turnaround. And we also have a turntable back there, but this is our main yard. But you can see that once again, the sky's the limit. You can make this 30 tracks wide and much longer. There's nice big space back here for all kinds of stuff. So anyway, sky's the limit, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this tutorial. If it does well, I'll make another one. I'll show you how to do some of those advanced bridges and some planning out for certain like exact industry things. But there's the at least basic tutorial for you. Have a great night. Be sure to subscribe. Thumbs up always help. And be sure to be part of the channel and the Twitch channels out there. The link is in the description. Have a great night, guys. Bye.